This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so I want to welcome Christine Beck and Adam, who are going to talk to us today about advocacy. So I'm just going to throw it to them because they can introduce themselves better than I ever could.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for welcoming Adam and I to your meeting tonight. We are excited to learn with and from you on this journey about self-advocacy and the Alliance. So let's get it started.
Hi, my name's Adam Weiser. I'm an Ambassador Leadership Program graduate. I'm a self-advocate leader, and I'm part of the Alliance.
And I'm Christine Beck. I am the organizational director with the Alliance, and I also am a co-director with a not-for-profit in Illinois called Blue Tower Solutions. So Adam, why don't you lead everyone through who we are?
The Alliance is a network of advocates and self-advocacy groups around Illinois. We began in 2008 and are funded by the Illinois Council on Developmental Disabilities. Our mission and vision. Our vision is for self-advocates to work together to get the support we need and to live the life we want in the community. Our mission is to speak up for ourselves and each other while working together to make changes in our communities and in Illinois. Our focus is on empowering people to speak up about what they want and need, don't want and don't need, action plan their goals, participate in advocacy at the personal, agency, community, and statewide levels.
And I'd just like to add the part about participating in advocacy at the personal, agency, community, and statewide levels. People start where they start. We are at where we are at, and certainly we work with a wide variety of people. And what we hope to do is help each and every person get to their next, whatever that is. For some people, it might be speaking up about what they want to wear or what they want to eat. For others, it may be being involved in their agency or organization as part of a work group or a committee. For other people, it may be involved in their community, whether it's volunteering opportunities or part of their faith community. And certainly at the statewide level, we have people who want to connect with their elected officials. So again, we start with the individual and where they're at and what they want to achieve in their life.
What we do: support local member groups, work together on important issues, offer resources, networking, advocacy, and learning opportunities. Website, monthly newsletters, webinars, Alliance Ambassador Leadership Program, Training Institute.
So let me share a little bit about this. As Adam mentioned, we are a network of self-advocates and self-advocacy groups. And when I say self-advocates, we mean people who have intellectual and or developmental disabilities. And right now we have 40 member groups, actually named member groups, and they're all over Illinois. So up in Zion, McHenry, Dixon, Chicago, and the collar counties are well represented with member groups in Alsip, Brookfield, Burbank, Chicago, Chicago Heights, Hanover Park, Homewood, Mount Prospect, and Rolling Meadows. We also have, excuse me, we also have member groups in Central Illinois, Rock Island, Pontiac, Galesburg, Peoria, Tremont, Bloomington, Beardstown, Jacksonville, Decatur, and Monticello. And then down in Southern Illinois, where I'm located, we have member groups in Alton, Edwardsville, Mattoon, Charleston, and Paris. And I'm really fond of saying, no matter where you live, no matter where you work, or no matter where you play, chances are there's a self-advocate or a self-advocacy group near you speaking up and speaking out about the things that are important to them.
Christine, I have a question.
Yeah.
AID had 2 self-advocacy groups, one in Aurora and one in Elgin.
Yes, and I don't see you on here, so let me move through and see if I have that slide. Hold on. Yep, okay. Yes, I don't know why I don't have Elgin and Aurora on here, but let me go back and add Elgin and Aurora. So thank you for pointing that out. And we are going to talk about your self-advocacy group at AID, because maybe your son or daughter or sister or brother or the person on whose behalf you're joining us today, they may be part of one of those member groups. So thank you, Lori, for mentioning that. And the Alliance does a lot of things. And one of the things we do is we collaborate with other entities on projects. So some of the collaborations we've done have included the Art of Illinois, the University of Illinois at Chicago, Equip for Equality, which is Illinois' protection and advocacy system. We've also collaborated on a couple of projects, one called Envision Illinois and one called Illinois Imagines. Both Envision Illinois and Illinois Imagines work at the intersection of people with disabilities and violence to help support people who have experienced domestic violence. We've also been involved as a collaborative partner in Partners in Policymaking, proud and included the Southern Illinois Transition Project, and SABE, S-A-B-E, which stands for Self Advocates Becoming Empowered, with their Go Voter project. And so these are just a few of the projects we've collaborated on. So we just don't support self-advocates individually and as groups. We are really working together so that people with disabilities, particularly people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they have a seat at the table. They are there where the conversations are happening and where the decisions are being made. And that is so empowering. So the Alliance is a resource, and this image on the screen is just the front of our website. And so, Adam, tell folks more about the Alliance being a resource.
All right, website, monthly newsletter, January 2016 to May 2021. 60 plus recorded webinars, Women's History Month celebration. Create your own emergency resource guide. Be a leader of your healthcare team. History of the disability rights movement. I can be safe online.
So we have a lot of recorded webinars on a variety of different topics. And so we invite you to check out our website and check out some of these recorded webinars. And we tell folks, no matter if you are a parent or guardian or family member, or maybe you are a support staff or ally, there's a webinar that is probably going to be of interest to you. And what a wonderful opportunity for maybe you and, again, the person on whose behalf you join us today to sit down together and learn together.
The Alliance is a resources, Sex Education Act, HB 3299, PA 101/0506, COVID-19 legislative advocacy, self-advocacy advisors.
So in addition to the newsletter, issues that Adam told you about on the previous slide, and all of the recorded webinars we've done, we also have a whole lot of resources. And these are just a couple of the resources. And what I like to say is our resources are not all not only free, but they're fabulous. And those are two great F words. So check them out. Tell us more, Adam.
All right, the Alliances is a resource for Facebook, daily posts about local, state, and national learning and advocacy opportunities. Email listserv, near daily posts about local, state, and national learning and advocacy opportunities.
So there's a lot of different ways that people get information from us. Certainly they go to our website or they come to presentations. We do have people that connect with us on Facebook and they get posts about different learning and advocacy opportunities. And then our email listserv. And one of the really neat things we've seen lately is because we are currently in the spring legislative session, there's been a lot of opportunities for people to do witness slips and have their voice heard, have self-advocacy heard in that way. And it really is neat when I am going to some of the bills that are being heard and looking at the witness slips and see who is filling out the witness slips. And I'm saying, yes, self-advocates are taking their rightful places as part of the decision makers. And it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But for those people that draw inspiration and get their power from doing that, I say, go for it. So the Alliance is a resource, and here's the exciting thing. We support member groups, and I mentioned that we have 40 member groups. Well, 2 of them are located within AID. So just to spotlight AID, you have 2 groups. One is called the AID Super Fighters, and the other one is AID Freedom Fighters. One is located in Aurora, and one is located in Elgin. And Adam, would you read about both of these member groups?
AID Freedom Fighters. Mission: we want to live meaningful lives, make our own choices, and have opportunities. Goals: learn about advocacy. AID Super Fighters. Goals: learn about our rights and how to advocate for them, learn about advocacy, and learn who to advocate to.
Thank you. And with all of our member groups, when they share with us what their mission is and what their goals are, we try to be intentional about the resources that we share with them, and we offer support specific to what it is they want to learn about. And here's where you come in. Whether or not the person that you support is part of one of these self-advocacy groups, they are still a self-advocate, and you can help support them in developing and strengthening their self-advocacy skills and helping them increase people power. And we're going to talk about that. So Adam, where does it begin?
Every journey begins with the first step: who, what, where, when, why, how, questions, and answers. Self-advocacy.
That's right. Every journey begins with the first step. And really, the first step is about self-advocacy and building that strong foundation on which people can stand and get to their next. So, what self-advocates want you to know? Go ahead and tell them.
Nothing about us without us. We have a mouth. We can speak for ourselves. We can make our own choices.
Thanks, Adam. And each of our self-advocacy groups is encouraged to get out and do some community advocacy. And the image on the screen comes from a community advocacy opportunity that one of our member groups did several years ago. And it was during the Spread the Word to End the Word campaign that was nationwide, and it was done by the Special Olympics. And it really was targeting stopping the use of the R word. And so what the self-advocacy group did is they made arrangements with their local university, and they had a table in the student center, student union, and they gave out information, and they talked to people who came by, whether they were students or faculty or anybody who was coming by the table. They talked to them about being a person with a disability, about the trauma of people using the R word to them or about them, and they asked them to take a pledge, and they actually gave them a pledge to sign to stop using the R word. So this is advocacy in action. And again, we encourage all of our self-advocacy groups to do advocacy in action in the community, in their agencies and organizations, participate even as a large statewide network.
Speak up and speak out. What does self-advocacy mean to you?
All right. Well, I know that some of you have had a long day, and maybe you don't want to speak up and speak out loud, and that's okay. We give you choices. Choices enhance lives. But just think to yourself, what does self-advocacy mean to you? So when we say the word self-advocacy, what does that mean to you? If you want to type it in the chat box and Lori can read it, great. If you want to take yourself off of mute and shout it out, that's fine too. If you just want to think it in your head, that's all right. And as I mentioned, because we're a statewide network, we get to meet with a lot of people, and we have since 2008, probably met with, I couldn't even tell you how many people. And every single person we've had the opportunity to learn with and from. And this is their definition of what self-advocacy means.
Self-advocacy is speaking up and speaking out for yourself and for other people who can't or don't know how to speak up for themselves.
Yes, it's as simple as that. It's speaking up and speaking out for yourself, and sometimes for other people. And sometimes if people are kind of new to the self-advocacy journey, we'll be doing this, and some people will say, well, I'm not a self-advocate. And I said, well, I think you are. So let me help put it into some situations you can understand. So I might say, who here likes to go out to eat? Just about everybody raises their hand. And I'll say, who likes to go out to eat at McDonald's? And a lot of people will raise their hand. And I say, okay, so before COVID, maybe you'd go to McDonald's and you walked in and go to the counter, and then what? And they'd say, well, I have to order my food. And I'd say, well, yes, that's being a self-advocate. I mean, you don't just walk up and someone automatically knows what you want to order. Maybe you use your words. Maybe you show them a picture, because some people communicate that way. However you do it, when you were ordering your food, you were a self-advocate. And so then I said, imagine if you ordered a fillet of fish and you are just ready for that fillet of fish, but they give you a McRib, and that's not what you wanted. What would you do? And some people said, well, I'd tell them that's not what I ordered. And I'd say, yes, that's being a self-advocate. You're speaking up for what you want, and you're speaking up for what you don't want. So sometimes during our advocacy journey and our empowerment journey, we have to put things into situations or words that people can more readily understand. And Adam, what are we going to do now?
We're going to do pieces of the self-advocacy puzzle. Who, what, when, and where, how, and why.
Thank you. And we really believe that self-advocacy is like a puzzle, and you need the different pieces of the puzzle to put it together to make sense. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the pieces of the self-advocacy puzzle and learn together. So let's start with what. And think in terms of the person that you support. Think in terms of the person that you support. What are some things that they can advocate or speak up and speak out for? So what? The first piece of the puzzle is what? So just think in your mind, unless you want to type it in the chat box or shout it out loud, what are some things that the person you support, whether it's your son or daughter or sister or brother, what are some things that they can advocate for? So just think about that. And then Adam's going to share a list. Again, we hear from lots of people, and these are the things that they say they can advocate for.
What you want and don't want. What you need and don't need. Hopes, dreams, and goals. Where or how you want to live or work. Your rights. If you are unhappy, being hurt, or feeling unsafe, your boundaries, your concerns about power and control. You can speak up about anything that is important to you.
Yes, that is so important to know that it doesn't matter what it is, you can speak up about it. If it is important to you, then it is important enough for you to speak up and speak out about it. So that's the what piece of the puzzle. So now we're going to move to the how. How can you advocate or speak up and speak out? In this one, with this piece of the puzzle, like what are the ways that the person you support speak up and speak out? And I'll give you a hint. We're doing one of the ways right now. We're talking, so using words. So think about that. What are the ways that the person you advocate or the person that you support can advocate or speak up and speak out? What are all the different ways? And a lot of us use different ways in different situations. So again, how? All right, Adam.
American Sign Language, ASL. Speaking, writing, smiling, frowning, phone call, email, text, pointing, gesturing, communication device. Everyone communicates.
Yes, thank you for that last one. Everyone communicates, and indeed that is so. And sometimes it hurts my heart when I hear people say, but she doesn't communicate, or he doesn't communicate, or I don't know what he wants. But everybody communicates. And sometimes it's true, people don't always communicate in ways that are easy for us to understand, but everybody communicates. Behavior is a communication. When we are in relationship with folks and we know them well and we know the way they prefer to communicate, we start to understand when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're uncomfortable. And so again, everybody communicates. And here's a big one. Who can you advocate for? Or who can the person that you support advocate for? So we kind of think this is a trick question sometimes. Who can you advocate for? And Adam?
Yourself, other people with disabilities, friends or family, school, employer, an agency where you get services, something that is important to you. You can be an ally for others.
Yes, you can advocate for a lot of different people and a lot of different things, but the most important person that you can and should advocate for is yourself. The next is another who piece, and it's who can you advocate to, or who can the person you support advocate to? Who are all the people out there in their life that they can advocate to?
Case manager, social worker, teacher, family, parents or guardians, friends, doctor or nurse, counselor, legislator. You can speak up to anyone you want.
Yes, you can speak up to anyone you want. And sometimes, you need to in order to get what it is you need. And so we go through this as we're going through the pieces of the self advocacy puzzle. And I say, so when you go to the doctor, do you just stand there? No, I tell them what's wrong. Exactly. That's one of the people that you can speak up and speak out to. So here's one. When and where can you advocate or speak up and speak out? So what are all the places and spaces that the person you support can speak up and speak out?
Home, school, and work. IEP, Individualized Education Program. Discovery, and person-centered planning meetings. Community day services, wherever you receive services. In the community, restaurants, bowling alley, etc. Appointments, doctors, hair salons, etc. The Capitol and legislators' offices. You can speak up anytime and any place you want.
Yeah. And so we're rounding the corner and we're heading for home on this puzzle. So we talked about what, we talked through how you can advocate, who you can advocate for, who you can advocate to, when and where. And now this is the big thing. Why should you advocate, or why should the person that you support advocate or speak up and speak out?
It is good to ask for something you want or need. It is good to ask for something someone else may want or need. Put a stop to what you don't like or want. To get better services and supports. To show we are equal. It is my right to speak up for myself.
Yes, it is your right to speak up for yourself. And again, we meet a lot of people, and sometimes people haven't learned how to speak up and speak out for themselves, or maybe they learned but they were told that they can't or that they shouldn't, and they have to relearn. So speaking up and speaking out or advocating is a lifelong process. It's not that, oh, I've learned how and now I don't need to learn anymore. It's like a muscle. We have to use that muscle. We have to practice. Practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes better. And so providing lots of opportunities for people to advocate, to learn about self-advocacy and to advocate is so important throughout their entire life. And so we have this resource. It's called the Pieces of the Self-Advocacy Puzzle, and it's just another tool for the old toolbox. And you can find this resource on our website. Maybe it's something that you want to look at. Maybe it's something you want to do with your son or daughter or sister or brother. We certainly talk to our self-advocacy groups and our advisors and allies, and use this. Again, talk about self-advocacy, do trainings on self-advocacy, provide opportunities for self-advocacy, because that really is a foundation of living a full life. And so, Adam, tell us about creating a culture of advocacy now that we have that foundation.
Change the way choice is viewed. It is a right, not a privilege. Recognize that choices enhance and enrich lives. Create an environment that invites, encourages, and celebrates choices.
Well, where would we be if we didn't have choices? And what would our lives be like if we didn't have choices? And maybe in the past, we didn't think about providing choices for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In fact, sometimes I think we were a little bit stingy with them. We made people earn choices. But thinking of it, that choice is a right. It's not a privilege. We are humans. We have certain rights, and choice is one of those rights. And we're going to talk about creating this environment that invites, encourages, and celebrates choices. And if you think about it, not just in terms of how agencies can do things, but maybe how you can do things within your home or within your community.
Right. Creating a culture of advocacy too. Be flexible, spend time learning about people's gifts and strengths. Recognize that there are different types of choices. Use an environmental checklist to help people think through opportunities for changes. Mistakes equals experience. Allow for the possibilities.
Yes. Couple of the dot points I really want to point out are being flexible. You know, I mean, if COVID has taught us anything, it's that we have to be flexible. And what we think is going to happen really may not happen. And when we are supporting people and offering choice and creating this culture of advocacy, we need to understand that we're going to have to be flexible. We also understand that mistakes equal experience, and we are more than our mistakes. And in fact, we need to, when we are looking at situations and not expecting for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live up to a higher set of standards than what we're willing to have for ourselves, and recognizing that from mistakes can come learning and growth, and always allow for the possibilities. Tell us about power.
The power of power. There are three kinds of power in the world. Power over. I'm in charge and you're not. Power with. Let's work together as equals. Power within. I am a strong person inside.
Yes. And so as we are creating this culture of advocacy and working on this foundation of self-advocacy, understanding that there's three kinds of power, and we've all experienced this. So as children, we might have experienced, or not might have, we did experience power over, where I'm in charge and you're not. So that would be like a parent to a child, or maybe a teacher to a student. And as people grow and they have experience, and they make the mistakes and they learn from the mistakes and grow from the mistakes, hopefully we can switch to this power with, that we are going to work together as equals. And allowing people the opportunity to learn and have these respectful relationships. And then power within, people understanding that they can make choices, that they can make mistakes, they can grow, and that they are strong inside. And so creating the culture, we really want to empower people. We really want to go from, instead of more power over, to we want to equalize that power and have it balance out as much as possible. And so it really is about shifting the power. Tell us about that, Adam.
Nothing about us without us. The words we choose to use. Our beliefs about people with disabilities. Society's beliefs about people with disabilities. Tapping the wisdom and knowledge of people with disabilities, increasing people power.
Yes, thank you. And when we fail to see the wisdom and experience and expertise and gifts and talents and what people with disabilities have to offer us and the wider world, that really is giving rise to that power over. But when we shift the power, that we understand that people with disabilities are capable and confident and competent and have things to offer. When we ask for opinions, when we offer them opportunities for the seat at the table, to be where the decisions are being made, we are shifting that power and always looking for opportunities to increase people power. And I'll share a story. When I was a provider and I had had my first child, and it was a rough go. I wasn't prepared for motherhood. You know, they don't give you a book. They don't send you home with a book. And I stopped into the agency with my daughter in this little, the little pumpkin seat carrier, and she was crying, and I must have looked exasperated. And one of the self advocates, who was an older woman, she just swooped in and she picked my daughter up, and she knew exactly how to hold her and to soothe her. And I was just amazed. I said, "How did you do that? How did you know?" And what she told me is this, that she had lived at one of the state operated developmental centers, and one of the jobs she had was to help take care of the infants and the younger children that were placed there for services. And so she had more experience being a caregiver than I have ever had in my entire life. And that's the wisdom, and that's the knowledge. And everybody has wisdom and knowledge. And one of the things that I encourage everybody to do is find that wisdom and knowledge, and find places and spaces that they can use that, where that will be celebrated. All right, so here's some easy opportunities for people power. Go ahead, Adam.
Help people learn about their rights. Ask people about their gifts, talents, hopes, and dreams. Say well done or great job. A lot more than you say stop that or no. Self-esteem is important. Tell people what's really going on in their lives. Don't fib or ignore them if they ask questions. Listen to it and acknowledge what people say.
Yeah, so for each of these dot points, if we didn't do it, that would be power over. I'm not going to tell you about your rights. I'm not going to ask you about your gifts and talents. I'm going to say stop that. I'm not going to tell you what's going on in your life. That's that power over. Some of these easy opportunities will help you equalize that power. And so here's one of the cool things, and you have probably seen maybe not this version before, but everybody upon entry into services and then annually thereafter has to sign the rights statement, and it's several pages long. And I won't even ask for a show of hands on, did you read it before you signed it, or was it just pushed across the table? And we expect self-advocates to sign it too, right? In addition to legal guardians. Well, we realize that's a problem. We disempower you if we don't help you understand what your rights are when you're receiving services in ways that you can't understand. And so the Alliance said, we need to do something about that. And so what we did was we took that rights page or pages that people get every year, and we developed an accessible version. And so this is the cover page of it, and you can find this on our website, but I want to show you what we did to it. So this is what a page would look like, and it has the right, and then it has what it says, which is what it says in the right statement that you would get. And then we created a what it means, because sometimes what it says is difficult to understand. So give me the skinny, what does it mean? So for example, for retention of rights, what the actual right says is you maintain all of your legal and civil rights while receiving services. Okay, well, what does this really mean? What it really means is you have rights, and the agency who gives you services cannot take away your rights. And we also know that people learn differently, and some people learn by reading, and some people learn by hearing, and some people learn by pictures. And so we included a picture with each of the rights, and under the picture is some words describing that picture, so that if I am a staff who is helping support people in learning about their rights, I have the words to say what that picture, to describe that picture. Let me go back for a moment. So again, we encourage folks to use this resource. We encourage staff to use this resource, whether you have, whether they are doing a self-advocacy group, or maybe they are doing a consumer council or resident advisory council. We encourage people to, it's really hard to speak up and speak out about your rights, or understand if your rights are being violated if you don't exactly know what your rights are. All right, how about some challenging opportunities, Adam?
Have people to be in charge at their person-centered planning meetings. Invite people to be on committees, work groups, and boards. Have people help do jobs that are traditionally reserved for staff. Giving tours, front desk or greeter, temperature checks, reserving conference rooms, coordinating schedules.
All right. So maybe AID is doing some of these things, and maybe we're starting to plant some seeds, and maybe you as a parent guardian advisory council, you can plant some seeds as well. Certainly, if you attend a person-centered planning meeting, having the person you're there on behalf of, offering them the opportunity to be in charge, maybe lead the meeting, maybe not the whole meeting, but maybe introducing everyone, being the one to send around that sign-in sheet, having a position of power at their meeting versus I'm just going to sit back and let everybody do things for me, because maybe that's the way that it's been done for quite some time. And it might take a while to get to that place of being more in the lead. Again, with inviting people to be on committees and work groups and boards, we are talking about being intentional. For people who want to be on committees and work groups and boards, looking for place and space for that to happen. This is beyond tokenism. We know that the agency is really more equal when people that they support are participating in meaningful ways and making the decisions. All right, here's some more challenging opportunities.
Use universal design to make things easier to understand. Person-centered plans, policies and procedures, manuals, brochures. Help people write letters or send emails to elected officials about issues that concern them. Schedule face-to-face or Zoom meetings between people and elected officials.
All right. And I know AID does a lot of things with elected officials, because I've heard that people who you support are engaging with elected officials. And just for the first stop point, universal design, it really is about widening the welcome of understanding and inclusion for everyone. We did that, the rights of people receiving services in a universally designed format. And again, it's hard for people to be empowered when information is not given to them in a way they understand. And this isn't about making things easier to understand just for self-advocates. This is about making things easier to understand for everyone. When one person benefits, we all benefit. Oh, here's some very challenging ones.
Include people in helping recruit, train, interview, and evaluate staff. Ask people what they think staff jobs are and what the job responsibilities should be. Ask people what it means to have power with and within instead of power over.
Yeah, these could be very challenging, including people into that life of the agency by helping recruit and train and interview and evaluate staff. I mean, the staff, they work for me, right? The money I receive for services goes to pay for staff. And let me tell you, when a self-advocate or self-advocates are helping recruit and train and interview and evaluate staff, that sends a message that they don't just work for Lori Baker or for another supervisor, but in effect, I work for this person. And that is very empowering. And so the culture of self-advocacy checklist, this is a great opportunity to kind of take the pulse of where the agency is at, and it goes through learning opportunities. The sections are learning opportunities, empowerment at agencies, organizations, and schools, self-advocacy around support staff, and then supporting personal power. And we invite and encourage people to check this environmental checklist out, to take the environmental checklist. We've had agencies that have done this as a group. They've gotten people from self-advocates to direct care staff to middle management to executive management, because we all experience it differently. We all have ideas on how things are done. And people take this checklist, that they come together and they kind of compare notes. And maybe there's opportunities for improvement. Maybe you can change a never to a sometimes. And maybe you change a sometimes to an always. And we know that agencies have used this as part of their strategic plan. So there's a variety of ways you can use this to just, again, take the pulse or temperature on where the agency currently is. We have talked a lot about self-advocacy and the Alliance. So now is a great time for us to ask you about any questions, comments, or considerations. Before we do that, because I want to see people when we're talking, just to tell you a little bit, we have an email. You can email us at info@selfadvocacyalliance.org. We have a website where you can find those free and fabulous resources, selfadvocacyalliance.org. And if you're a Facebook user, we invite you to find us and like us, connect with us there. So I am going to, if I know how, and Lori may have to help me, stop sharing my screen. Right here. Oh, and now I can see everyone. Yay. All right, wonderful. So yeah, you guys heard a lot. Did anything resonate with you? Do you have any questions?
So somebody asked me a question in chat. They wanted to know where we are at AID in relation to everything that you shared. And I would say we are 25% there, but not 100%, that we have lots of opportunities for growth. And I have taken lots of notes in terms of especially some things around the universal design and the idea of we're working on the culture of the organization in general around lots of areas. And so that gives me some other great places to give that group that is working on putting the action plan together to add some areas to their plan in order to be better. And it reminds me of one of my favorite self-advocacy stories is when I had started working at the state and I was going around and visiting self-advocates. I think you helped me get connected with a lot of them self-advocacy groups. And I was going around and asking people where they wanted to live and how they wanted to live, and what their hopes and dreams were. And it always was the same. People didn't want to live with 7 other people. They wanted to work in the community. They often wanted to be married or have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and I said I can't help with that. I wasn't a matchmaker. But the fourth thing was always people wanted to have a pet. And a gentleman at one of the self-advocacy meetings said, "Not a fish, not a fish." And I was like, I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. You want a pet that you can snuggle and love, not what we tell you is easiest to take care of, right? Which is a fish. So I have always remembered not a fish whenever people talk about having a pet. And we have had long discussions here at AID about how to do pets, and haven't quite got there yet when people aren't living in apartments or non-shared spaces because of people that some people don't like it, some people do like it, allergies, who takes care of it, who pays for it, the whole 9 yards, right? But we are going to continue to move towards that. But that's my little 2 cents worth.
And thank you for sharing, Lori, that you went around and talked about dreams. And dreams are so important. And I think dreams help us put our feet on the floor in the morning and go during the day. And when we are talking with folks about dreams, really listening with the intent to understand. And I'll share a couple stories around that for one person who kept on saying he wanted to drive a car, and everybody in his life is telling him you can't drive a car because, you know, you can't read, or you were in special ed, or they're just, you know, telling him all this stuff, until one person, you know, really took the time and developed that relationship and said, tell me about this driving a car. Help me to understand what this means. And he said, well, you know, when you drive a car, you get to pick what you want to listen to on the radio. So when he's saying he can drive a car, we're thinking of it in terms of our experience and expertise. And we're not allowing that person to really speak their truth on what they believe driving a car is. And I think so often we really don't listen, and we are kind of dream crushers instead of dream cheerleaders. And there's probably aspects of everybody's dream that they can take steps to achieve. There really is. For someone who said she wanted to get married and everybody told her all the reasons. And when someone asked, tell me about that, she said, well, I want to wear the long white dress and I want to be the princess for the day. And staff said, well, we can do that. And they made arrangements with the local bridal salon, and she got to try on dresses and do all this stuff. And I thought, you know, I had a first marriage, and maybe I should have just stopped at the trying dresses on all day long, right? And so Lori was right. People have dreams, and it really is important to have this foundation of self-advocacy so you can speak up and out about that dream. And their dreams are like any of the dreams that we would have for ourselves. We want to live in a safe place that we choose. We want to decorate it the way we choose. We want to have meaningful employment, typically out in the community. We want to have relationships. We want to have special people in our lives, and we get to define what that relationship looks like. That's what makes life good.
Just not a fish.
No, and I noticed, Lori, when you said living with same people, Amy said, yep, yep, yep. I don't know if that means, Amy, you want to live with 7 people. Yeah, I don't even think I like 7 people to want to live with 7 people.
Don't you have 7 children?
Not all at home at the same time.
All right.
No. And I'll tell you, if you want to hear another story, one more story about a dog. The agency I was with was very pet friendly. And so this group of men, they wanted a dog, and they wanted a real dog, not a dog that could, you know, a little small dog in a, you know, you carry around in a purse or something, but they wanted a dog. In fact, I said, okay, tell me about this dog. They said, well, it has to be big enough to drink out of a toilet. because, that's a good sized dog, right? That's a dog you can do stuff with. And they were outdoorsy kind of guys. So anyhow, one of the biggest concerns was that everybody in that home was on psychotropic medication and had behavior management plans, and a couple had some one-on-ones. And so behaviors could be quite explosive, and bringing an animal into that environment was a very scary proposition, because not only, do we not want people to get hurt, we don't want staff to get hurt, we don't want an animal to get hurt. But we're like, okay, we're going to try this out. And it was just amazing that one of the first times that someone, you could tell he was, getting angry about whatever he was getting angry about, and the voice is starting to be raised, and he looks like he's balling his hands into fists, and it's like, oh no, it's going to explode here soon. And one of the other folks who lived there said, stop, you don't want to scare the dog. And the person stopped. And we saw behaviors go down. And we saw a little bit of reduction in medication. And it was all because they didn't want to scare this animal. Now, I don't think the dog really cared what the guy was doing. And, there were times that they did get loud, but it was this, there's something outside of myself now that I need to care for and I care about, and I don't want to mess that up. And a fish just ain't going to do that for you. I can tell you that, Lori. I'm an animal person, so I'm like, yeah, all the animals of the world. But, even negotiating, I'd like a pet, but my roommate doesn't, for whatever reason. I mean, we all experience that unless we have enough money to live on our own. This is the real world. We can't always get what we want. I think the Rolling Stones said that.
Somebody famous did.
Yeah.
Do people have questions or comments, thoughts? I'm just thinking about all the stuff we need to do.
You know
It's
what?
overwhelming a little bit.
Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And there isn't any agency out there that is 100% perfect at what they do. But the nice thing is we recognize that we want to do something different, and maybe we make a plan for that, and we are trying each and every day. And even if it's just offering more choices and understanding that mistakes are growth opportunities for all of us. Because you can have the best plans and,
And you have a pandemic, and then you forget all about your plans.
Exactly. How we treat people is the most important thing.
Jim?
Lori, how do you best think this group could serve the agency in terms of developing a culture of advocacy?
Ooh.
I don't think that's a question we're going to answer tonight, but that's a challenge I'm throwing down for the future for us all to think about, is how can we help the agency as a whole become start to move beyond what you called the 25%, and kind of ratchet it up. I think that'd be an interesting challenge for us.
Right. I'm writing it down because if I don't, I'll forget about it. But
well, one of the things that you could consider doing, Jim, and others, is looking at that culture of self-advocacy and environmental checklists. And from your perspective, because we all are going to have a different one, from your perspective, answer that. Where do you think the agency's at? Maybe do it with the person you support, because they experience it different from how you experience it. And maybe having a couple of staff do it, coming together, talking about it, and picking, what are a couple things that over the next year we want to work on.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be a great starting point.
Jim, I'd also just like to throw in there, we're talking about the board doing a self-assessment of their work and what they'd like to do and learn moving forward. I think that'd be a good exercise with the board members as well.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because I have asked about doing some of the things that that lead to a culture of inclusion and self-advocacy, and there has been some questions about that from some board members rather than ideas of how to move it forward, I think.
Worth a discussion for sure. Yeah.
Jim, I interrupted you.
Question, Kerosene, to you. I think one of the things that maybe some of us really wrestle with is almost a kind of learned helplessness. I'm thinking about, advocating and asking for what you want, but given the constraints of funding and of staffing, I really thought your point about, that while you might not get your full dream, there are little pieces of it that you can sort of move bit by bit. What would your advice be for, those of us in this group who kind of struggle sometimes with, is the system ever going to change,
Well, wow, there's a lot to unpack. Will the system ever change? I don't know. Can we change how we view things? Yes. And to go back to the learned helplessness, there was a time that the medical model was what we followed, that we had to know all things about disabilities before we could support people. And we saw disability as a medical thing, not as something that's going to happen to all of us, given time and age. And maybe we start to look at it as disability humility. Every time I interact with someone, I am going to be open and respectful and ready to learn and listen. We're going to, I think it's important for us to understand disability and certain aspects of it, but that's not the most important. We really need to allow people to teach us what they need, how best to support them. Doesn't matter that I'm your parent and that I've known you forever. You are your own person. And I need to sometimes be still and listen. Sometimes I need to put aside what I think is best to allow you to grow as the person that you are. I don't think we're going to change the system. Maybe not in the way that we'd like to. I think we can change ourselves and how we look at things and how we approach things and how we engage and how we interact. And we allow other people to witness that and be part of that. And we start that movement. And these are conversations I have with the Division of Developmental Disabilities too. I mean, they've heard me. There are constraints, but within the constraints, there's still opportunity. All is not lost.
I like that phrase, opportunity within constraints. That's a nice phrase.
Oh, well, it's true. It really is. I wish we had more to offer people within policy and procedure and rules and regulations and finances. But we don't. But we have to work with what we're given, and we have to be creative, and there are opportunities.
Yeah, and I like, I used to think whenever I was at the state, if we can learn to look at eyes for opportunity rather than for reasons why not to, it seems like we look at like that box, and we stay trapped in that box because we want to check those boxes, just like your example for the person who wanted to drive. We look at all the reasons why you can't drive, and all the things against it, when really we just needed to listen to the person to find out what that meant to them, and the real dream behind what he was saying wasn't necessarily about driving. It was about being in control of a portion of their life, right? Listening to what you wanted to listen to, so trying not to look at things in the legalistic way, but have your mind open to the possibility is challenging sometimes, and just remembering that, I think, is really important.
And it's hard to be the first one to take the step out of the box. Nobody wants to do that because it's scary, because we're familiar with the box. We may not like the box, but we're familiar with it. But we know wonderful things happen when we do take that step outside of the box. It's about that dignity of risk that we have all experienced, and we continue to experience it. And we don't always afford that opportunity to other folks. Start the movement.
That's right. I can't, I always do the worm, but I don't know how to do it, but.
I think you have to get on the floor for that.
Oh, I was thinking of that, whatever that thing is where they make the wave go up and down your arm. But
yeah.
I won't do the worm because I won't get back up off the floor then. But thank you very, very much, Adam and Christine, for coming and sharing with us tonight. We really appreciate it. I am reminded to go check on our self-advocacy groups and make sure that their allies are helping them to meet again now that we are more have some more ability to do that. And I have a couple of other actions that I will take around checking with some of our clinical staff around the ways that we're using some of the tools that are available on the Alliance's website to make things easier for people to, all people to understand, because this very complicated world of services and housing and transportation and everything else that you have to know about is very complicated. And I will remind everyone or let everybody know, I sent out with the reminder email about this meeting tonight, our updated schedule. We were able to move some stuff around so that we can have on our next meeting on June 24th at 7 p.m. Laura Anderson from Winning Systems to come talk to us about the legislative session, which will be wrapping up here on the 31st, and we'll be able to talk to us about the budget and other pieces of legislation that have passed that will be important to all of us to and about things that we care about and that will affect the people we love. So she will be coming on the 24th. So you have that updated list, and thanks as always for being a part of this. Be on the lookout for, we are sending actually via snail mail, updated letter about community day services and opening up visitation and some other information about this parent group out to parents, guardians, and family members of people that we support. And those should be hitting the mail I think tomorrow. They were stuffing envelopes today, so those should be going out in the mail tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a very wonderful Memorial Day weekend.
Lori, can I ask a quick question? It's Susan.
Mm-hmm.
I did not get a reminder email. Who should I let know about that?
Me. Okay. I'll go and look at my emails. I'm trying to figure out a better way to manage this group, and it's I haven't got it yet. I need to talk and listen to some younger people that are a little more hip to technology than I am, but I will do that, but I will make sure that you're added to this group email list, Susan.
That's fine. All right. And anything I can do to help out, I'm happy to. Not
Yeah.
that I'm tech savvy, but I can learn.
Yeah, can't we all?
I
Thank
think
you.
that raises a really good point. All of us know other parents or guardians of folks within the agency, so please be spreading the word. This is just our 4th or 5th meeting of this brand new group, so keep forwarding the emails to the other parents or guardians, for example, of the clients who might live at a home that your child or sibling is at. Whatever you can do to pass it along, be nice to build membership. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. And I will, yeah, good point, Christine. The personal invitation does do wonders. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely Memorial Day weekend.